Hey everyone from Las Vegas, where I have been for the past week for the Consumer Electronics Show, my seventh year of very successful coverage. You can visit zenny62.com and check out what I've done both in covering startups and tech and major brands and just having fun as well. But I digress. The Oakland Raiders, for those who have asked me personally, will be charged a franchise fee. That is set in stone. NFL Network reporter Ian Rappaport has said recently that that fee would be $550 million. I was told the amounts will be identical, which means Ian was right. Identical means the same. 550 million for the Rams, for the Raiders, and for the Chargers. My assertion is that the Raiders, and I've said this before and I'll say it again, can't afford the fee. Why else would the team go passing the hat trying to sell a percentage of the organization last year? Think about it. So, and then there's the issue of how the Raiders have handled their business over the 21st century alone. The Raiders have had historically more dead money over the 21st century than any other NFL team. Dead money is where I sign you to a contract, yet you don't work out. So you're picked up off waivers by another team, like say the Dallas Cowboys, and the Cowboys offer you a contract. So now you've got money from two contracts because the Raiders contract with you was say, for 3 years or 4. And the Cowboys' new contract is layered upon that because you only lasted with the Raiders a year and a half or 2 years. Okay? Prior to the arrival of Reggie McKenzie in 2011, in 2010, the Raiders had, if memory serves, $54 million in dead money alone. For that year alone. No telling how much dead money has been allowed to accrue over the years. It's a big problem there. A huge one. Add to that the lack of effective sponsorship agreements. Add to that a piss poor naming rights agreement history where the Raiders have not done the naming rights negotiations, let alone the hunting for the company themselves. They have left it to the Oakland-Alameda County Joint Powers Authority, which does not have, and has proven it does not have that expertise because it has the JPA, a naming rights agreement that, adjusted for inflation, is less than the one that was signed over 10 years ago. Heck, over 20 years ago. Yes, check it out for yourself. Horrible. Now, again, the Raiders will not be able to afford their franchise fee. The question is, would the NFL cover that fee? And my sources tell me that the owners aren't interested in doing that for a person in the form of Mark Davis, the owner of the Oakland Raiders, who they allegedly, and I'll explain why I say this, allegedly regard as a bad business owner, a person who's not savvy. The reason why I disagree with that statement is because Mark Davis formed the Raider image. You know, the stores and shops where you can buy Raider hats, gear, jerseys, bikinis. Anyway, you know what I'm saying. That was Mark Davis' creation. A person bad at business doesn't come up with that, so he can't be that bad. Maybe there are aspects he doesn't know. Okay, I digress again. Now, the other item of information I have been told is that Floyd Gephardt is, quote, back, unquote. And what that means is, first of all, the city has no exclusive negotiating agreement publicly with anyone. However, if the city has been acting like it has an exclusive negotiating agreement with Floyd Gephardt, still, it is an insult and affront to any other truly qualified group of developers and financiers that might want to get involved in this project if it's pitched the right way. The bottom line is this: the city has been screwing around looking for that person with money, frankly speaking, because it doesn't understand how government can structure a deal using stadium revenues, using industrial development bond financing so that it can achieve funding for two stadiums for the A's and for the Raiders. You can explain to them my idea, but if they don't want to absorb it, and in my case they don't, no, no. Bringing Floyd Gephardt back in, well, let me rephrase that. Not casting the net for a new developer, allowing the existing ones to stick around, means the city isn't serious about building stadiums in Oakland. They're not serious about doing big projects well. The city is serious about handling situations as backroom deals. That much is certain. That's tragic. And anyone who cares should be concerned about that and talk about that. That's terrible. But I digress again. Here's what I think is going to happen next week. The owners pick Inglewood with St. Louis and the Chargers. The Raiders stay in Oakland. However, San Diego Mayor Kevin Faulconer files an injunction to stop the whole thing. It wouldn't be him, it would be Goldsmith, the city attorney for San Diego. San Diego has an excellent reason to file an injunction, as does St. Louis. In fact, I don't understand why Oakland, St. Louis, and San Diego don't team up. They have ample reason to do so. A number of what are called causes of action. We'll see. Now, the other issue for me is that I assert that San Diego cannot support the personal seat license weight that will be foisted upon that region. And as a friend of mine said today, Carson, which isn't close to anything in Los Angeles, think about that. You have to drive a long way to get to that stadium if you are the person with money in Beverly Hills that wants to check out the Raiders. You gonna do that? Maybe you'll do it once, but will you do it multiple times? That's, to me, that just doesn't pass the logic test. It just does not. To go, in the case of Raiders, propose a plan that takes them away from the most powerful, the richest, and if money is power, the most powerful economic region in the country, and put it into LA, which is ranked number 17, according to Bloomberg. That doesn't make any sense at all. But that's the skinny. Again, the relocation fee will have to be paid by the Raiders, and the amounts will be identically applied to each team. Ian Rappaport of NFL Network has reported that's $550 million. My assertion is the Raiders can't afford that. And what's left is, what are the owners going to do if a team can't afford the franchise fee? And I haven't got a solid answer to that question yet. The question is outstanding, but it's a question to ask. Now, and of course, I talked about Floyd Gephardt being, quote, back, and allegedly having the financing for Coliseum City, even without the Raiders, which goes back to the idea that was expressed at this town hall meeting that was held last year regarding Coliseum City over at Scott's, where the staff had holes where the stadiums would go, but the talk was largely of building a new community and not about building sports stadiums. So really, if you think about it, tragically, the city's position hasn't changed. There's been a lot of rhetoric, there's been a lot of talk, but behind the scenes, they have basically done the same thing. That's sad. This has not been Oakland Mayor Libby Schaaf's finest hour. Libby needs to prove that she has the will and the initiative to complete big projects. And she hasn't done that yet. And more important, she's afraid to take on the necessary steps along the way of doing so. Reinventing the wheel is not a smart thing to do because you have the internet, a giant library containing all of the um, all of the um, actions of the past and people that you can call on. So it's very disappointing. Anyway, stay tuned.